Assalamualaikum. Good morning. Good evening. We from group 30. Today we're going to present about mental disorder. Me, Azam, and this is my name. So this is our topic, which is have 10. For introduction. So when I say mental disorder, of course you all already know. First of all, sorry for my English, not very nah. When I say mental disorder, of course you all already know and have been exposed about this matter, because this matter getting more and more public attention, especially us as a student. So from the National Institute of Mental Health 2009, in an external report on mental health and mental illness, conclude that about 1 in 4 Americans, or about 58 million people, experience mental disorder in the course of a year. And then about 10% of population, or approximately 1 in 17, suffer from a serious mental disorder. Nearly half, 45% of those with any mental disorder meet criteria of 2 or more mental disorder. Person with mental disorder must not only with their disorder, but also with the negative reaction of person around them.
Well, next, for the second topic, the theme of mental disorder. Many people will certainly react differently to someone with a mental disorder than to someone with a physical illness. Most people feel generally sympathetic to a patient with physical illness because they understand and recognize the symptoms those patients display, or because their own past experiences help them to identify with such affliction. People with mental disorders have been stigmatized for a number of reasons. One, the prevailing attitude tends to hold people with mental disorders as somehow responsible for their own condition, while viewing sufferers with physical illness as victims of the concern. Second, the system of care for those with mental disorders has been spared from that of care for those with physical illness. Third, there is a prevailing view that people with mental disorders are violent and otherwise disruptive or unpredictable. It is because selective media reporting some news that continues to link violence with mental disorders reinforce the fear of violence. Even mild mental disorders may draw society's attention, perhaps in the form of labels such as mentally ill, insane, or crazy.
The psychiatric view of mental disorder, okay, in an effort to limit the range of shifting definition and establish reliable criteria for accurate diagnosis, the American Psychiatric Association developed a diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorder, 4th edition, which is di mana psychiatri akan guna manual ni untuk rujuk sebelum diorang diagnose, mereka diagnose penyakit sakit mereka. Okay, this manual represent an ongoing attempt to standardize psychiatric diagnosis of a specific mental disorder. So DSM has replaced the expression mental illness to mental disorder. But DSM is not a scientific document, which is dia akan berubah setiap tahun, di mana setiap study yang dibuat akan tambah dan tambah. Sebab tu dia ada 4th edition tahun 1994, dia dah ada 4th edition, and then dia ada next edition yang for the future. Okay, but psychiatric traditionally classify mental disorder according to types. Next. Okay, number 1 is organic mental disorder, di mana mereka organic mental disorder ni Diorang diagnose daripada segi fizikal dengan apa yang mereka nampak. Organic disorder trace their origin of identifiable organic or psychological problem. Okay, nak contoh number one adalah Sinan, nyanyuk. Di mana ataupun yang kita common selalu dengar Alzheimer, kalau dari segi saintifik lah, di mana loss of memories or particularly for reason even inability to concentrate and certain delusional thought. Okay, number one and number two is paralysis, which is paralysis is a muscular weakness or paralysis, which is semakin tua semakin weakness of a muscle lah. Condition cause syphilis. The mental symptom of paralysis often include complete alteration in personality characteristic. For example, from a typically well-dressed person to may appear slovenly in public. And then number three is alcoholic psychosis, which is bila terlalu banyak minum alkohol, dia akan dapat alcoholic psychosis lah, di mana mereka akan hidup lebih tidak terurus lah. Okay, this is example of organic mental disorder. Next. And then number two is functional mental disorder. Functional mental disorder, they use a DSM to provide particular and appropriate help in classifying and treating functional disorder. Di mana benda-benda contoh-contoh functional mental disorder ni dah tertulis dalam DSM tu. Okay, number one is minor disorder, historically called neurosis. Is compulsive behavior, boleh wujud dalam macam-macam. Sebagai contoh, fobia juga adalah antara contoh dalam minor disorder. Fobia, OCD, di mana perubatan berulang juga type of minor disorder. And then the second example is manic depressive behavior, also sometimes called as bipolar disorder. Consists of attitude swing ranging from extreme elation in a many stage to extreme depression, which is shift very abruptly and noticeably from one mood to another. The example of behavior of bipolar disorder is stop quickly, minimize activity, but bipolar maintain contact in reality as well as undiminished memory and place time orientation, di mana mereka sedar mereka bukan gila, mereka sedar apa yang mereka lalui, cuma kita tak perasan. And then next, paranoid behavior. Paranoid behavior no longer represent a widely used diagnostic category. Mental health professionals now class most paranoid disorder as a form of psychopathic behavior, di mana paranoid ini berpunca dari dalam diri mereka sendirilah. Mana dia bukan gila, excuse most paranoid continue to function and their personality to deteriorate over time, but they do not hallucinate. Di mana mereka berada dalam keadaan sedar, jadi ia boleh masih boleh dirawat. Jika berterusan, dia boleh jadi schizophrenia. And then lastly, schizophrenia. Mental health professional diagnose schizophrenia more frequently than other serious functional disorder. Generate no single behavior and it may show up in many ways. For example, hallucination, delusion, diminished ambition and social withdrawal. And schizophrenia will lead the personality. And then schizophrenia remains the most common diagnosis for serious mental disorder and occupy over 30% of mental hospital around the world, and schizophrenia occur more commonly in a young adult.
Next, for the problem of definition, there is 3 types of problem of definition. The first one is statistical definition of mental disorder. The second is clinical definition of mental disorder, and also the third one is residual norms and societal reaction. For the first one, statistical definition of mental disorder. It is a numerical average could evaluate the incidences of various behaviors with the highest score highlighting the practice in the middle of the range, which they represent normality. For the clinical definition of mental disorder, it is a clinical definition of mental health relies on the individual judgment of a practitioner. It is an action that a clinician regards as healthy become the standard of for acceptable behavior. Other behavior represents mental illness if mental illness professional say so. Ni macam kalau mental health practitioner ataupun mental health professionally, dia cakap contohlah macam psychiatrist, dia cakap seorang ni ada schizophrenia, so it does. Macam kalau dia cakap tu, itulah. Okay, for clinical definition of mental disorder, there is 2 types. There is value judgment and also normative definition. For value judgment, it is a clinical definition subject conception of mental health to practitioners' value judgment. The second is normative definition. Redley has advocated another method for making the clinical classification of behavior as normal or abnormal based on 3 important sociological criteria. There is the motivation of the behavior and practice distinction, the situation in which the behavior occurs, also influence the judgment, and also who makes the judgment. The third one, residual norms and societal reaction. A sociological definition would classify mental disorder with difference to residual norms and societal reaction to them. Any residual violation of norms, that is, a violation covered by other specific behavioral expectations. These normative violations qualify as mental disorders when they occur outside socially acceptable context. An operational definition of mental abnormality would look for answers for 2 questions like normal under what conditions and for whom. This consideration seems to contribute helpful guidance for any adequate definition of mental disorder. As a person's behavior conforms more closely to the expectations of others, they tend to form more favorable evaluations of him or her. Medical and psychological perspective of mental disorders differ from a sociological approach which seeks to understand mental disorders by referring to the social rules and normative expectations that they obey. Untuk yang ni, dia macam apa yang kita buat, kebanyakan orang buat, dia akan jadi benda tu normal. Dia akan classify sebagai normal. Tapi kalau ada certain orang je buat benda tu, so dia macam dianggap benda tu sebagai abnormal ataupun macam insane or crazy.
Okay, next is the social stratification and mental disorder. Number one is social class. Social class diagnosis of several psychiatric disorders show a disproportionate concentration in the lowest social class, which is people at the bottom of the class system develop more mental disorder than other class. So sebagaimana kita tahu, mereka yang berada di sosial kelas di bawah kebanyakannya mempunyai masalah mental disorder lebih daripada yang lain kerana masalah-masalah yang boleh difikirkan seperti kewangan. Misalnya kewangan keluarga dan sebagainya. Okay, next is sex different. Have found no consistent sex difference in rate of functional psychosis in general, but women do develop manic depressive disorder at higher rate than men. But overall, more men, which is 26%, than women. 30% experience any disorder over their lifetime. Walaupun dari segi statistik, perempuan lebih mempunyai masalah mental, tetapi dari segi kajian, lelaki sebenarnya mempunyai masalah mempunyai mental disorder lebih daripada perempuan. Kenapa? Why? Because the studies in the United States have consistently confirmed that women contact medical personnel, even ordinary physician, about mental health problem more often than men, which is perempuan lebih terbuka ataupun terus berjumpa dengan mereka yang pakar berbanding lelaki. Sebab kita tahu sebab kita tahulah sifat lelaki, dia takkan tunjukkan lah apa yang mereka mengalami berbanding perempuan. So, tapi pada hakikatnya men experience any disorder over their lifetime more than women. Next. And then for the age group from 18 to 29 show the highest concentration of psychophenia, which is young person experience mental disorder of all sort of higher rates than all the people lah. Seperti kita tahu, di masa muda lebih stres berbanding di masa tua. Okay. And then race and ethnicity. For this part in our country, this factor may be rare or even almost not exist due to the strict prevention and racial problem. Di mana masalah ni selalu berada di luar negara lah. Contohnya Amerika, mereka ada masalah kulit hitam, white people and black people. So the pressure tu yang membuatkan mereka menghadapi mental disorder. Berbanding di Malaysia, kita sama rata. And then lastly, marital status. Taking all disorder together, divorce and widow people develop problem at comparatively high rate as do those who never marry. So mereka yang pernah bercerai ataupun menjadi balu dia menghadapi masalah disorder ni berbanding mereka yang tidak berkahwin. Tapi tidak semestinya yang tidak berkahwin tu tidak mempunyai masalah yang sama.
The next one is social stress in mental disorder. Social stress seems directly related to behavior, frequently defined as element of mental disorder. Certain types of disorders seem associated with specific proportion of such stressful life event. Kita boleh tengok daripada jadual ni yang tak semestinya kalau kita melalui benda yang happy pun kita tak ada stres. Walaupun kita macam happy tapi benda tu tetap akan lead to stress. Daripada ni kita boleh tengok daripada merit, life change score is 500, widowed 771, divorce 593, parented 560, pregnancy 280 for 84, birth of child 337, illness or injury 460, death of loved one or other important person 469, started school or job 191, graduated from school or training 191, retired from work 361, changed residence 140, and took a vacation 74. Took a vacation, we know that it is a happy thing, event that occur in our life, but it also produces stress, even though when it's happy. Okay, social stress in modern life. Everyone hears regularly about how much stress has increased compared to earlier times. Each age certainly has its own sources of stress, yet people would deny that stress plays an active role in modern life. For example, parents often complain that the demand of parenting has increased, such as education for their children, financial problems to provide food and shelter, clothes to their children. Next, even daily living brings significant stress. Adults are not the only ones who experience stress. Adolescents experience acute stress from many sources, such as education, financial problems, and many more. Senior citizens occasionally feel disappointed in their golden years. At no age do people live stress-free life. Next, stress and anxiety. Social interactions frequently create conflict situations marked by stress, particularly if the conflict threatens self-image, role, or values. These stress factors tend to reproduce a certain amount of anxiety. Fear produces overstimulation, whereas anxiety acts in covert ways. Stress plays a visible role in neurotic-compulsive behavior, in which practices such as excessive orderliness and obsessional ideas help people to relieve anxiety. Sorry for the inconvenience. We will continue our presentation. The next one is stress in social situation. Immediate stress situations particularly important effect in the many depressive disorders. The effect of psychological stress on mental disorders appears to vary sociopath. The attendant groups encounter the most stress of any society. Kessler reports between various indicators of social class, income, education, and occupational status and stress, although these relationships operate differentially for different populations. Income provides the strongest predictive power for stress among men, while education predicts stress most effectively among women. Individual ability to manage and control stress also exerts an important influence. One important source of stress is through conflict. Next is stress as a precondition for mental disorders. Stress in itself often, even when it becomes severe, does not inevitably produce mental disorder. Some people cope well with stressful situations while others do not. Some theories attempt to explain how life changes may encourage mental disorders by triggering a process in vulnerable individuals. Research has not clearly detailed how people perceive life events and how they may handle those developments within given social situations. Some may call on more social support than others can, and some can simply cope more effectively than others can with life events, particularly adverse ones. The next one is coping and social adaptation. Successful adaptation to a stress involves a number of measures. One, an individual needs to coping capabilities and skills to deal with social environment demands. Second, adaptation to stress demands motivation to act and react to situations. Successful coping also depends on both physical and social resources. Any adequate explanation of mental disorders must consider the interaction of stress and individual coping skills. The continuing influence of some stressors further reinforce the value of long-term individual coping skills and more or less sustained social support to ward off the disabling effects of stress. Pada sini kita boleh tengok setiap orang ada coping mechanism masing-masing. Ada orang yang boleh coping with mental stress higher than others. Sebab tu lah dia macam tak nampak sangat yang dia ada stress. Sebab dia pandai handle.
And then social rules and mental disorder. Social science has elaborated 4 general theoretical perspectives within which to examine mental disorder. Number 1 is one can regard it as the product of some biological or genetic deficit. Number 2 is the outcome of certain personality types determined through conditional or learning experience. Number 3 is more sociological possibility. One might view mental disorder largely in behavioristic terms. And number 4, primarily Sociological conception of mental disorder may look for problem with social role, especially an inability to shift between or adapt to role and active effort to play the role of mentally ill person and sequence of self-expression. Next is the social roles and mental disorder, inability to shift role. Many people who develop mental disorder appear to lose the ability to shift easily or at all from one social role to another. For example, one view regards schizophrenic as individual who experience problem playing the roles expected of them in normal social relation, leading to social isolation. Next is self-reaction and social role. Everyone experiences a self-reaction to his or her own experience, status and conduct. Universal capacity of self-conception play an important role in mental disorder. Mental disorder person may reflect this distorted self-conception that reflect difficulty in interpersonal relationship and continuing anxiety. In response to ongoing difficulty in interpersonal relation, mental disorder people may learn to use self-reaction in fantasies, dreaming of themselves as different from their true self, in order to overcome conflict. Di mana mereka menggunakan kaedah mereka sendiri to use self-reaction, mereka berfantasi ke apa untuk elak daripada masalah yang mereka hadapi. And then people may sometimes praise themselves for what they have done or say. Maksudnya kita sebagai masyarakat orang biasa yang nampak mereka yang mempunyai masalah ni, kita perlu memuji, bukanlah memuji minta puji tapi memuji mereka ataupun bercakap mengenai baik supaya ini bantu mereka untuk mendapat self-reaction mereka sendiri. People express their mental disorder in real system that observer can interpret within a broader sociological framework. Next. Performing the mentally disorder role. Chef, which is one of psychiatry, has advanced sociological theory of mental disorder that describes such condition as a result of playing the role of mentally disordered person. Society of established many rather clear expectation to govern behavior in many social situations, and it clearly recognizes a wide range of violation and norms. Action condition that characterize mental disorder, such as withdrawal, depression, compulsion, obsession, hallucination, and others. People very commonly transgress in this causal way, and no one notice me of their obsession. Mereka ada masalah ni, tapi kebanyakan orang tak perasan mereka ada masalah. Popular conception of mental disorder, which is behavior that people call as crazy, spread through everyday conversation and mass media, including advertising. Mana crazy tu lebih tersebar daripada mental disorder. Orang menganggap gila berbanding mental disorder. Mental disorder bukan gila, gila is gila. Crazy is crazy, but mental disorder not crazy. Treatment by psychologists, counselor and other mental health professionals may strengthen the attachment of the mental disorder level to a person, enhancing the stability and associate behavior. This explanation of mental disorder brings many advantages. For example, it takes into account the normative effect of mental disorder, describing it as deviance with a reference to residual norms. And then It focused attention on how people become aware. This norm and imagery, the imagery associated with crazy behavior. And lastly, it suggests compelling view of mental disorder as attention of familiar role play activity, very only the context of the role exercise, behavior expected of a mental disturbed person. Pada akhirnya, no one should dismiss the role labeling mental disorder. Semua orang takkan terlepas dengan masalah melabel ni.
Okay, the next topic is eating disorders. Eating disorders frequently impair social functioning. Public regulations about eating disorders also subject people to stigma from others. Research may offer some justification for classing this problem as a result of some sort of mental stability, but accumulated evidence remains far from clear on this point. An example of popular case: in August 1996, Miss Universe Alicia Machado became an object of controversy after she won the title in May 1996 and proposed quickly changed to criticism. In August, Machado, at age 19 and 5 feet 7 inches tall, reportedly weighed 135 pounds, about 80 pounds more than when she had won the Miss Universe title. No matter that, this weight is about either given her height, pageant officials contemplated removing her as Miss Universe. She announced that she had eaten in the 3 weeks period to the process to achieve the winning figure. While contest officials denied planning to strip Machado of the title, some have expressed concern that she looked chubby in a swimsuit and would not present a good image of Miss Universe. Social dimensions of eating disorders. The term eating disorders encompasses a variety of behaviors associated with patterns of consuming food. Currently, anorexia nervosa and bulimia probably generate the most discussion of all such disorders. Contemporary interest in these disorders has followed reports suggesting relatively high incidence among certain populations, particularly among college-aged women. People with eating disorders generally agree with the cultural values that define slim bodies as attractive and excessive weight as a physically and morally unhealthy condition. Many people with eating disorders can admit the problem only after they recognize the disruptions that their behavior causes. Anorexia nervosa means that something that drives people to purposeful starvation, eating small amounts on only infrequent occasions. Meanwhile, bulimia is an episodic pattern of binge eating marked by rapid consumption of food in a short time and forced vomiting or laxative abuse in an attempt to prevent feared weight gain. Disebabkan stigma masyarakat yang macam ada beauty standard ni macam kurus, macam kalau nampak kamu sikit tu terus je macam tak cantik. So kebanyakan terdedah dengan eating disorder ni, anorexia nervosa dengan bulimia. Kalau anorexia nervosa ni dia macam dia sanggup berlapas semata-mata untuk achieve winning figure. Manakala kalau bulimia pula dia macam makan banyak dalam masa yang cepat. Lepas tu dia macam tak boleh ni, nanti gemuk. So dia macam dipaksa muntahkan balik. Psychologists have identified a number of psychological conditions associated with eating disorders, including low self-esteem and feelings of helplessness. Eating disorders affect women more often than men, and younger women more often than older women. A number of observers associate eating disorders with fashions of late 20th century American culture, particularly social standards of women beauty that dominate competition, media image, and clothing fashion. For example, the extremely popular Barbie dolls that continually reinforce the link between attractiveness and thinness. Social emphasis on thinness pressures young women to achieve a standard that only a few can attain with and comfort. Sebabkan ada beauty standard ni, macam ramai yang terdedah dengan eating disorder, dan dia lebih affect women berbanding dengan lelaki sebab selalunya lelaki lah nak perempuan cantik kan. Dia sama juga dengan kalau Korea punya beauty standard kan. Kalau Korea, kalau yang macam tak kurus sangat, contoh macam puasa Gio kan, terus kena kecam. Sedangkan kalau macam yang kurus, tinggi macam Wanyang, terus orang puji.
Next, social control of mental disorder. As we know, some people recognize their own mental disorder and voluntarily seek help, but most do not because of the significant stigma associated with mental disorder. As we can see from this chart, the 44% people not seek the help about their mental disorder. Other than that, we have general hospital and private mental hospital, but most of them not seek for help, keluar untuk mencari pertolongan dan menyelesaikan masalah mereka secara sendiri, on their own. Next, then mental hospital. For centuries, society traditionally deal with pronounced mental disorder by punishing or isolating affected people or both, and often subjecting mentally disordered person to severe and even cruel treatment. As we know from history, kebanyakan mental hospital dahulu dia lebih kejam, di mana mereka boleh memuatkan berjuta-juta orang dalam satu bangunan yang kecil. Mereka menganggap people with mental disorder is satu penyakit bagi satu kawasan masyarakat. In 16th century known as lunatic or insane asylum, di mana dulu mereka tak panggil mental disorder or busy or what, but known as a lunatic or insane asylum. And then and later more politely called mental disorder. Psychiatrists believe that drug will greatly facilitate psychotherapy, di mana mereka mengeluarkan ubat untuk merawat penyakit-penyakit for those yang teruk dalam mental disorder lah. Mental hospital appear to perform two main function. Number one is treatment that will enable mentally disordered people to return to normal society, and number two is protection for both patient and society. The deinstitutionalization movement. Okay, number one is community mental health program. The deinstitutionalization movement is the reduction of hospital population. It's reflecting the trend away from mental health treatment within large public facilities to the community mental health, di mana metod ni adalah bagi mereka yang menjauhi kaedah-kaedah pergi hospital ataupun sebagainya, dengan kembali kepada komuniti secara private. Local community should retain the main responsibility for people with mental disorder, and that Congress subsequently initiated program that provide federal aid to community mental health center and fund other treatment improvement. And then psychiatrists, psychologists, social worker and non-professional workers should run a program based on both individual counseling and group therapy. And then some large centers should offer specialist program such as occupational therapy. Any patient who require hospitalization will usually stay in a local general hospital, which will provide various therapy for short period of time. Okay, next is a problem with the institutionalization. Masalah yang berlaku daripada gerakan tadi adalah no evidence indicates that community mental health center rehabilitate patient any more effectively than mental hospital. Di mana tiada kepastian sama ada gerakan komuniti tadi lebih berkesan daripada cara kaedah medical kaedah perubatan. The increase in the urban homeless population in recent years also suggest that community health center have failed to meet the problem typical of this mental disorder people. As mental patient left hospital or never went there in the first place, and they did not necessarily reach the attention of treatment specialist in the community. Mana pertama sekali mereka tak pergi hospital dulu, mereka cari community dulu. Tapi namun kaedah ini tidak berjaya. Lastly, we need to find seek help from the professional.
Alright, for our last topic, there is reducing stigma. Stigma leads many people with mental disorders to avoid treatment for their disorders. The most effective way to reduce the stigma that surrounds mental disorders is to find the causes of such disorders and apply appropriate treatment. Kan stigma masyarakat kan bagi sangat macam kalau depression sikit je terus macam mental disorder, terus macam level gila ke. So kita kena sebagai masyarakat, kita kena nak macam kurangkan stigma tu, macam kena bagi awareness kepada orang lain pasal mental health ni lebih. Itu sahaja daripada kami. Terima kasih.